Hello and good afternoon, everyone. On this lovely winter afternoon, let me welcome you to the 6th edition of Phoenix Literature Festival Junior, presented by Skill Factory. PLF has been doing a literature festival since 2020. This edition has been powered by Schools of Creativity. Our tech partners are Search My Tenders, associate partners are Storytelling Hub, and our academic partners are Revival Mastery. Today, on the panel with me are Mr. Ayan Pal and Mr. Indranil Mukherjee. We are going to discuss the value addition that value-based education offers as part of the curriculum. I welcome you both, Mr. Mukherjee and Mr. Pal. Welcome to the session.
Thank you.
Let me briefly introduce my panelists to the audience. Mr. Indranil Mukherjee comes from a tech background and has turned a writer. He has 3 published books under his belt. Re-Kill, The Station Master, a collection of short stories which has also been translated into Bengali, and Off the Pages, a book which he dedicates to his idol P.G. Woodhouse. So we can expect that to have a particular flavor to it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Ayan Pal, you're welcome, sir. Mr. Ayan Pal has earned the title of Distinguished Toastmaster not once, not twice, but thrice. He's a member and volunteer with the Toastmaster International, and he's a senior consultant with IBM. He's also a writer who's been recognized by Hindustan Times, and he has also had the opportunity to present his published work to Prince Charles, now no longer the Prince, the King of Britain. So I welcome you, gentlemen. The topic of today's discussion, as I said, is the scope value-based education offers in adding value to the students, to the future of the country. So I would like you to start with sharing your viewpoint on the importance of value education in a student's life, in turning them not only into ethical professionals maybe, but as contributing members of the society as well. Mr. Mukherjee, would you like to take it first?
Sure. First of all, thank you again for inviting me here, Phoenix and Rahul. Not a bad. And this has been something that I have had a chance to speak to people over here in the past. And this, when Rahul spoke to me about this yesterday, it sounded like a terrific idea, because this is something which is very, in my opinion, value-based education is something that we really should be having, because our focus has become a little more narrow than what we have had in the past, where it is more to do with competence in certain specific subjects, whether it be this in the science or commerce. Very little importance is attached to subjects that would comprise the humanities. Whereas if you read across in many journals and books and magazines, I have seen this being written, that that humanities gives a well-rounded perspective on a person's personality, and which in the current context, it actually brings me, it takes me back to my school times, which was like many years ago, where we used to have one subject called moral science, which has died, I think, an unlamented death. But in the context of the present times, I think the value that was there, which was never taken by us kids as seriously as I'm considering it now, looking back 40-50 years ago, but they really had some input to the child's worldview. You know, the
True.
necessity to be empathetic, the necessity
Yes.
or the need to be connected, to need to understand another individual, the need to be to have integrity, to have be resilient, and so on. So I mean, there are many such facets which,
Hmm.
and these are, in my opinion, very in a typical Indian home. I'm sure these are also something that are brought about in the nurturing of the children
Hmm.
in through these the Panchatantra or the Hitopadesha and so on, which were
Right.
the essence of being good humans. So, in my
Yes.
opinion, yes, this is something which really is a time that we need to have them brought in. And from whatever I have been reading in newspapers and all, there are
Hmm.
schools, there are countries that are really trying to involve this
Focusing.
fairly focused manner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Mr. Pal, would you like to take this? Add
Obviously,
some
this
things.
isn't a debate, and I would not like to disagree. I think that's very well spoken of, Indranil, and even I'm remembering my school days. In
Hmm.
fact, I believe my the greatest value I derive from my education is the subject of value education.
Hmm.
We had a value education class. I have studied in a convent school which was run by Irish brothers, and we had a value education class in which the Catholic students had a separate class. I think they were learning from the Bible or the Old Testament. I cannot say for sure because I was
Hmm.
not in those classes. And we,
Hmm.
the non-Catholic students, would have wonderful value education in which we will talk about life. We will talk about
Hmm.
consequences, and I think it's very, very important now more than ever before to talk about actions and consequences. And I think
Hmm.
the true value of education stems from value education. Take any kind of education that you're doing. If you're teaching someone about hacking, you
Hmm.
also have to explain what is ethical hacking.
Ethical hacking.
They go
True.
hand in
True.
hand.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
are unfortunately living in an era in which a lot of faceless people are educating us about what we need to do. They are commonly referred to as trolls, but I'm sure they have some level of education, and I don't know what value they have derived from that education. We are living in a country, in a society, if I talk about India as a country, in which
Hmm.
a cricket captain and a Bollywood actress's 6 month old daughter receives rape threats from a student from IIT.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow.
Hmm.
Now, as a father of a 7-year-old, I was appalled when I read about that. And of course, I'm sure justice must have taken its due course. But to be in the highest echelons of education and to still have no understanding of the value we bring to our
Hmm.
lives as human beings is
Hmm.
appalling. And I believe somewhere we are making progress by first understanding that this is a problem
Yeah.
and trying to talk about it. I think there is a lot of awareness right now. We had Indranil talk about some very good examples of literature. I'm going to take the example of Jataka tales as well.
Hmm.
I try to get these Jataka tales by Amar Chitrakatha read by my daughter, and I think there is value in not just learning from humans but also from animals. And the Jataka tales are supposed to be the various incarnations of Gautam Buddha,
Hmm.
and I believe there is something to learn not just from humans, but also from animals about loving, caring, sharing, about protectiveness. I think
Hmm.
all around us, you have Newton's laws of motion. Every action has an equal and
Yes. Sir.
opposite reaction.
Absolutely.
And the more we give, the more we get. And I think value education is the fulcrum on which true education and a mindset towards change has to dwell upon. So that's my take on this topic.
Right. Very, very interesting and very, very well put by both of you. Jataka tales, as you rightly mentioned, they are a representation and tales from Buddhism, and we have Hitopadesh on the other hand in Hinduism, which again uses animals to present that story, a lesson. And
Precisely.
the story starts that a king wanted his sons to be taught meaningfully by a rishi, and he adopted these stories, adopted animals as characters to tell these stories, and hence deliver the message. Now, both of you gentlemen belong to the tech sphere, so as to say, and as you gave the example of the 6 month old child of Virat Kohli and Anushka Sharma getting those threats. I myself am a daughter to a 15, 16-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy, and I think without a gender bias, it is appalling, it is unnerving on both the ends. Do you think that technology, in a way, without the anchor of value education, becomes threatening, in the sense that this person probably, behind a screen, the faceless, namelessness part of technology somehow emboldens this kind of meanness, and because they have no compunction in coming after a 6-month-old child, and how it would affect anybody, you know what do you have to say on that? The role that technology, without having that anchor, being anchored or rooted into something more solid, more everlasting, probably. Any one of you?
If I may just refer to something that we possibly have read or come across, to blame a murder on the weapon of murder is not completely right.
Right.
It has enabled the person. The intent is of the humans. So even in this case, technology, like in most cases, they have two edges. So you have to wield it rightly, and the way that you put it is correct. It has to be couched in understanding and in building empathy and a connectedness with people. The way that you pointed out, that's again very correct. When I feel dissociated and I assume that I'm, kind of at liberty to make any kind of statements because I'm hiding behind a faceless, nameless
and no one
entity
can
that I've
probably
created
come
online.
after me.
Yeah, I mean, and thankfully there is technology to hunt such people down. But even then, there are ways and means of even obfuscating that. So it's not really a foolproof method, but yes, to tackle this, the need to have an upbringing which encompasses not just focusing on achievement of, becoming literate. It's not just becoming literate. You need to be more educated, more connected, more with people. And I'm reminded of another statement that I had read in Yuval Noah Harari's book *Sapiens*, where it says that humans, when they came about, the earth was dominated by far stronger animals, and humans were puny with their small muscles and small bones and so on. So how did humans really overcome everyone else? It was the fact that humans could cooperate.
They could come together.
They worked together.
Yeah.
And to elaborate this, the other day I watched a documentary on Netflix, which showed in ancient times how extremely large animals were corralled by a group of humans and then beaten with, not really drums, but sticks and all, making a noise and herding them towards a cliff where the animals actually fell off the cliff. And they got their meat. So how was that possible? They couldn't have tackled one huge animal by themselves, but they cooperated, they worked together, and they made that happen. And that was something that they gained because they realized their physical strength is not going to be enough. It's the brain that will really help them overcome these odds, whether it be fire or any of these kind of inventions. The fundamental inventions would have actually resulted in this. So technology has helped us move forward, overcome natural situations like weather, the climate, and how to deal with food and not finding food in harsh climates, and then you grow, you store, and that's how you move into a society which moved from hunting gathering to really farming. So it has been a journey where technology has really played a role and helped humans become the masters of the planet. But in when unbridled power is placed in the hands of people that do not have that connectivity, that rootedness,
Hmm.
you're enabling them by having this technology so commonly available in a
Hmm.
15,000 rupee phone or even less, and he's
Yeah, yeah.
able to attack whoever he wishes to attack.
Yeah, Spider-Man has rightly said this for all of us. With great
Great.
power comes great responsibility. So, Mr.
Absolutely.
Pal, your take on this?
I think
Do you have any?
I would have, first of all have to completely agree with Indranil Mukherjee. You cannot really blame the weapon for the
Hmm. Hmm.
intent is what determines all of it. But let's understand where technology is coming in.
Hmm.
We are now more dependent on technology than ever before.
Absolutely.
That is true. We are
Right.
impacted by technology than ever before. We are always bombarded by technology. Who is listening in on us? So I use a Siri, I use an Alexa, or maybe they both use me. I still don't know, because you will keep getting recommendations about going here and going there. But it is how
Yeah.
we use technology that determines what recommendations will come to you. And I'm going to
Hmm.
just take a few examples about our
Hmm.
society as a large. So
Hmm.
just I think 1.5 days back, the trailer of Animal dropped, a very violent movie, and it received about 70 million views, became the third watch trailer across all formats. Now, the
Right.
same actor also did a movie called Brahmastra, which was about fighting the evil forces. That was at 55 million. Who are we blaming? We like this violence. We can all come and claim that we don't, but look at the
Hmm.
games children play. It's horrific. I remember as a child playing that brick game in which the brick would fall, and I think and my mom would probably, she's gonna hit me with a brick if I don't stop playing that game. Now, I don't think parents can. My wife will not tell my daughter or anyone for that matter, I'm going to hit you with a gun if you don't stop playing that game. Now, we as parents have to understand that people will
Hmm.
be drawn to what we tell them and we ourselves enjoy. You cannot go to YouTube, or you cannot go to a digital platform and watch Big Boss all the time and expect your children to watch DuckTales. It's not
Hmm.
possible.
True.
I think we
Very true.
also have to be very careful about how we are using technology in front of our children, in front of our students, in front of
Hmm.
our peers. And
Hmm.
when that alternate format becomes even more popular, things will change. We are living in a world in which Salman Khan has made it as one of the most influential people on Time magazine. And breaking news, this is not Salman Khan, the Bollywood actor. This is Salman Khan, the educator. We are living in a time in which a Veer Das has just won an international Emmy and had an Amul talk about it. But how many
Hmm.
of us are going to go and listen to Veer Das talk about important things like in India,
Hmm.
we worship our goddesses in the day
Hmm.
and then rape the woman in the night. So that comment created a lot of furor. That comment came in a talk show in the last 1 year, and now he has won an Emmy award. What do you have to say
Hmm.
about that? I have nothing to say. But let's also look at the fact that we cannot blame technology alone. We also have to ensure the responsibility lies with the organizations that are
Hmm.
controlling and harnessing that technology. For example,
Hmm.
the Oxford Dictionary's word of the year for last year, I mean, it just released a few days back, is
Hmm.
hallucination. It's a fact that artificial intelligence is actually creating data by itself, and it's called hallucination. Now, we have to
It's
be very careful
replicating.
about, yes, about what we are feeding the artificial intelligence systems so that they can give the right kind of analysis. So predictive models is the future, but to
Yeah.
ensure it is fed the right kind of data is very, very important.
Hmm.
Another
Hmm.
case in point, I'm just going to take the example of IBM.
Hmm.
IBM had this facial recognition software that was launched, and we realized at one point of time that
Hmm.
it was being used wrongly. It was in a few times used to incorrectly identify, and now this is not IBM anymore. Somewhere someone used that software to identify as a criminal an African American. In fact, recently there
Okay.
was a news report that I read in which a woman who was pregnant was
Hmm.
suddenly called by the cops and she was arrested for a crime. She said, how can I do this crime? As you can see, I'm pregnant. And after a lot of issues, she was finally let go
Hmm.
of.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
happened due to facial recognition system not working.
Identity
When
theft,
the
no?
law, yes, when the law enforcement people are going to be blindly following technology, can we blame children? We can't.
Hmm.
We have a society have to wake up to the fact that artificial intelligence is great, but our natural intelligence has to be better.
But
That knife,
sorry,
I'm
but
so
I
sorry.
just like
Yes,
to budge in here quickly when you said this thing. Can we blame our children? Uh, uh, the question, I think, also remains that these children are tomorrow going to go and step into the society, take up the
yeah,
societal roles.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it is better to start building up for that rather than just thinking my child, or just this child or that child. We need to think of an entire generation tomorrow's policy makers. They're going to be tomorrow's uh, police officers, doctors, people who are going to take major important decisions, maybe on an international level, how our borders are going to be, how we treat each other. I think what you're saying is fantastic, and the examples are um, really bringing the point home that technology alone is not at fault. How we are going to use it and who is going to wield that power,
Absolutely.
and how we've trained them remains at the core of it. So I think we
And I
agree.
just have this one another,
Yeah,
I'm so
please.
sorry. I just have this one example, that I would
Uh-huh.
like to bring forth.
Uh-huh.
Talking about policymakers,
Hmm.
Justin Trudeau. I know India and Canada is not having the best kind of equations right now, but Justin
At the
Trudeau
moment. Hmm.
had a very respectable divorce. Let's keep it at that. Both he and
Hmm.
his wives of many years separated, but he was
Hmm.
also in the news for doing something very unique. I felt he
Hmm.
had gone to watch Oppenheimer with his daughter and Barbie with his son. Okay. And he had gone
Okay.
to watch Oppenheimer with his daughter and Barbie with his son. And I think that's a fabulous thing to do. Maybe it's for PR. I don't know. I don't know Justin that well, of course. None of us do. But the fact is, what kind of messages are we doing? I also have seen some very prominent Indian celebrities walking out of Barbie and then tweeting about it on X, that how
Hmm.
can a movie like this be made when Barbie is clearly not for children. So you have to know what is for whom. There is a reason, there is a parental guidance given, you have to understand. And
Yeah.
I have unfortunately seen this. I've
Hmm.
seen that there was this movie which was obviously for adults. It's
Hmm.
a Hindi film, so don't judge me. It's Ras 3, I think. And I remember in the theater there were these children who were bawling. Why would anyone want to take their infants to watch Ras 3, unless of course they're diehard fans of Bipasha Basu? So I don't know. So people have to be very careful about what they're doing. Yeah, we are very happy blaming everything around us, but it's our choices that
Hmm.
leads to a situation in which the blame can even come up. So I had to add that fact. So
Yeah, you're well on point again. I think, but now this gives me a question for Mr. Mukherjee, Bipasha Basu and Rastri. So, how do you think humor can help us tackle this thing, this burden that because value education by nature becomes preachy, and we all know that
Well,
children
yeah.
like everything
Hmm.
that is just not preachy. So, and having written a book dedicated with a dedication to PG Woodhouse, I would like to hear from you. What do you think? Humor in the storytelling, or humor in its delivery? Because I don't think the only blame is about the message. It is also some part of it. Also, it has to be taken by the deliverer. Teachers at times probably are overworked, they are overburdened, and the delivery goes for a toss, and the message is lost somehow. So, what would you say
Yeah,
to? Yeah.
I cannot disagree under any circumstance. So, humor, in my opinion, is very serious business.
Very
So, if
serious.
yeah, I mean, the reason why I say that is, being I don't know how to the adjective really slips my uh, mind at the moment, but I'm more than an ardent fan of Woodhouse and his work ethic. So I
Hmm.
have seen, copies of his manuscript, which are there available. It's in the public domain. So if you look at the manuscript, you will find I'm just harking on why humor
Hmm.
is serious business, and then I'll get to your question.
Hmm.
So you'll see that to get the turn of phrase, Woodhouse would have cut a word out and replaced it with another, and then would have cut that. And these are all longhand manuscripts
Yes.
by hand. So he cuts the word out 5 times, and then he uses a word which I have tried this and I found this actually effective. You read the word, you read the sentence with the original word, then you read the next, and then you read the next, and until you read the one that he retained, you realize the flow is so much better. The word itself, the fifth word, they're all synonyms, but it just fits better in that one sentence. So the labor he would have put in was immense to just get it right, to get it just right. Okay, so that's my plug for Woodhouse, and why I say he should be compulsory reading for people.
Actually, I'm just going to take a minute here. I really think that we are doing a great disservice to these generations by not introducing them to people like Arthur Conan Doyle or a P.G. Woodhouse, or a little older children, especially girls, to Virginia Woolf and things.
Absolutely.
I'm totally on you with this.
Thank you. So, in my opinion, when you put across something in humor, it goes in so well. So the absorption is far superior than in any preachy mode that you would deliver the same message. So I have a slightly tangential example that I'll quote, and then I'll just go back to the point that I had made about Hitopadesh or Panchatantra. These stories also used humor and to convey the point. So it was always very easy to understand. Why use animals? I mean, why would you read a fable when you could read a story where only humans abounded? First and foremost, it opens up the mind. It gives you a different perspective. For instance, I have written a story from the point of view of a pebble. It's a short story. Yeah, as if a pebble could speak. So that the pebble is picked up by a kid on the shores of a river by near Manali, and the pebble gets carried to Delhi, and so on and so forth. So it's essentially this is available free of cost on Facebook. Just putting it out there. So the idea was to open up the imagination, look at things not bound by human. We have limitations. There is only a certain spectrum of colors that human eyes can see. Whereas if you look at how houseflies look at objects, they have a completely different view of that. That's something that we cannot even imagine because we haven't seen that.
Yeah.
There is a series on Apple TV on this, how animals see, and they have created special lenses to actually create that. Sorry about the noise if you're hearing a background noise. There's some construction work going on next door.
That's all right.
So essentially, the idea is that, if something is conveyed in humor, it works so well. And your retention is as well so much better. So if you take, say, for instance, the story as Janevi Doyaro. So there are absolutely serious messages that have been embedded in a story, which is so much of it's a farce. You would think it's a farce. It's actually a satire. So that is the power of satire. Satire has been used from ancient times to make your point. Why people would accept that. So I think humor is something which there are multiple examples across movies, across theater, across books, which have always worked, because I believe the retention is so much better. The connections you make after that is so much easier. So humor certainly has a place. A joke, a satirical joke can land and make the point even more effectively than you would just read out a passage about it.
I think by its own nature, humor forces you to think. Maybe not in that very moment, but eventually when the point sinks in, humor, satire, whatever it might be, anything with a tinge of comic relief, probably, it sort of settles you down rather than working you up and coming at something with swords.
Exactly.
It makes you sit down, think about it, and then form the viewpoint.
Correct. Absolutely. with you on that.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. So, Mr. Pawal, do you have anything to say about it, about humor? Any examples for us?
Yes, I think please humor me a little bit more, and humor is always so important. It's a double-edged
Yes.
sword that we should not live by, though my chosen form of humor is sarcasm, a little like Indranil's. But, but I have to tell you, the most likable stories are those that stem from humor. My
Mm,
childhood, of course, Tinkle and Supandi and the stupidity of his is something that taught me a lot, and I think it still teaches children who are reading Tinkle. If I hope some people are still doing that a lot. And I'm going to take the example of the legendary court jester considered as a Navratna for
mm.
King Harish Chandra, if I'm not mistaken, in the 17th century Bengal,
Can
Gopal
I?
Bhar. In Bengal,
Understood.
Gopal Bhar is a very,
Mm.
very famous character. I'm sure Indranil would understand what I'm talking about here.
Absolutely.
And
Something
the
like Birbal.
yeah, something like
Yes.
Birbal, Akbar Bilbar, and Gopal Bhar and Krishna Chandra. So the kind of things you learn because of these stories, you learn because you are reading and you're waiting for the story to end, and you are listening to the story because it's funny and it's worth your money. It has to
Yeah.
be both. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
humorous tales, any kind of humorous tales, are always very important. And when an important public service announcement is made by someone who is known for making people smile and laugh,
Mm.
it
Mm.
makes even a better it makes a much better
Both.
impression. And one pop culture person I'm going to talk about is Mr. Deadpool himself, Ryan. Ryan and his
Well,
humorous takes when he has a public service. He had a public service announcement around Christmas. It was hilarious, and I think that's because of the character that we have associated with him. That he's very tongue in cheek, and this and that. So yes, there is a reason why children are so fond of Tony Stark. I think
mm.
because he's a
Yeah.
humorous character and not any of the
Yeah.
other superheroes. They are all superheroes. They are all brilliant, but
But he
most
has his
people
own
are,
following.
yes, the biggest fans of Tony Stark because of his humor. So I had to take that example of Ang Lee's creation. And I think, yes, let's keep humoring ourselves and let's try to use humor as a subtle tool to make a difference. I hope we can do that.
Yeah. And
Totally.
on that note, I think we do agree that this particular episode should be sent to all the schools across the country, and the teachers. It is going to inspire the teachers to sprinkle some humor onto their lesson delivery. And I remember I have studied from a very small town school. We had a subject called Dharam Shiksha. Besides having moral science as a subject in English, we had Dharam Shiksha in English, in Hindi, and that brought in so much flavor, I think, to my growing up years with stories from Jataka, from Hitopadesh, Panchtantra, and like you said, Akbar Birbal ke kisse, Sheikh Chilli ki kahaniyan, everything. But at the end of the day, they did a very, very important job. They taught us the value, and not only taught us the value of being kind, empathetic, and everything, they also showed us a path in that way.
True.
I would like to thank you so much for your time and for being patient with me and my fumbling, if at all. But thank you for your opinions and thoughts. It was lovely having you over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aanandika. And thank you,
Thank you so
Ayan.
much.
Very nice
Thank you,
talking to
Indranil.
you.
I
Thank
think
you.
it was wonderful being a part of this panel, and I really
Absolutely.
hope people humor such talk shows or whatever this is, for
Yeah.
lack of a better
And they
word.
keep each other also in good humor and not take
Yeah.
offense on everything and
Exactly.
anything that is being said.
Yeah. I
Take
mean,
it with a pinch of
see,
salt and the right kind of.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
we've got a
keep
lot
on
of variety in
reading.
salt these days.
I keep reading Woodhouse time and again. I keep rereading because it's always funny. I mean, the story is unimportant by now. It's the
Yeah,
language, and the language just keeps me in splits. It's amazing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
humor is life.
Humor is life, humor is light as well.
Totally.
With that, we will like to close this episode. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part
Thank
of
you so
Phoenix Lab
much. Thank you,
Junior.
both of you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye bye. Keep
Bye.
smiling.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
And laughing.
and laughing and learning, and maybe a little
So
bit of
going to say
unlearning and relearning, and maybe a little less of
Also,
trolling. But I think as long as we are trying to make a difference to ourselves and the rest of the world, we will get there.
true.
that's the intent.
All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.